Hi, Mariela. How are you?
Hi, good. How are
So nice
you?
to see you.
Good to see you too. How are you
I'm
doing?
great. I was just thinking as I was going to invite you in, I was looking for Mariela, and I was like, oh no, what am I inviting her through? So, so yes, I was just saying that Mariela is joining us to talk about her work with Carlsbad Mom Crew and the New Mom Talk podcast. So, very excited to have you on with us today and hear your story and how you're caring for mama and the work you're doing as a fellow mama. So, as those of you who have been joining us and tuning in, really what we're doing here with the Culture of Care Conversations is to start having more of these conversations about how we're caring for mama in the work that we're doing, whether I'm talking with product developers, suppliers that I'm working with to source for my care packages with Caring for Mama, or talking with folks like Mariela who are creating community and really supporting moms through different stages of motherhood. But my hope is that as we continue to have these conversations and kind of touch on the hot topics around this culture of care that doesn't feel like it really exists until you find your community, right, Mariela? I feel like the more we talk about it, the more we can work toward making change at a broader level. So that's really my hope in doing these lives and meeting these or introducing these amazing women to you all. So, with that being said, why don't you share a little bit more about what you're doing with the Mom Crew and the New Mom Talk podcast?
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. I'll start off with my podcast. So my podcast, the New Mom Talk, I started out of a need. So I was a new mom. I was constantly on Google researching anything and everything related to parenting, whether it was milestones, why do my boobs hurt? Oh my goodness, what are clogged ducts? Postpartum recovery, transitioning back into fitness, anything related to nursing, you name it, I was on Google. And then I was also finding contradicting information. So then it was like trying to figure out who was credible. So that said, I was like, there's got to be an easier way for this to for moms to get the information. There has to be a podcast. I had no luck finding a podcast that provided the evidence-based information. So then I thought, well, I can't be the only one wanting this. I guess I'm going to create it. And then I ended up spending like 3 months figuring how to start a podcast, and I went ahead and did it. And so I bring experts on to my podcast to share evidence-based answers to various topics and questions that moms are constantly Googling. And so the goal there is to provide parents with the information and be able to walk away with what serves them, what works for them, and not necessarily a personal story of, well, my son slept with the shades open, door open, noise at all levels. So this is the way to sleep train. I didn't want to do that. I really wanted it to be evidence-based so that parents could take what worked for them and not stress about every little detail.
I love that. The evidence-based piece is huge. I know you have the other piece that you're going to mention, but and when did you start the podcast? You said was it last year?
It'll be 2 years this
Oh my
month.
goodness! Congratulations. That's
Thank
huge.
you. Yeah.
And where can
Yeah.
people find the podcast before we dive into all the other fun stuff?
So you can start off on my website, newmomtalk.com. From there, you can find different ways to listen to the podcast. It's available on any podcast platform. And you can also link to my Instagram page on there at newmomtalk.podcast. Uh, yeah, and I love, getting to talk to other moms or getting information from moms for topic ideas, suggestions for experts and whatnot.
So you're interviewing moms in the podcast. Is that what you're doing?
Sometimes it depends on the topic because my podcast is really designed to be evidence based. So if a mom is an expert in a certain area, let's say that they're a pelvic floor physical therapist, then yes, or they're a lactation consultant, which a lot of
That-
moms end up, going into this field of prenatal postpartum care after they themselves have experienced it. So yes.
Okay, great. All right. So you also were going to share about, sorry I interrupted, but you're going to talk about the Carlsbad Mom Crew too, which is here in a city in San Diego for those who aren't in San Diego County for those who aren't local here. But
Yes, so I have Carlsbad Mom Crew recently expanded to add San Diego Mom Crew. The goal there is to connect parents with resources, whether it's through local resources or resources that are available via the internet. So, again, out of a need. So, one of the things that I really like to do is provide that education base. I've had events that are pelvic floor chats where pelvic floor therapists come and educate moms on the pelvic floor, share a few different moves, give the moms the opportunity to ask questions. I've had moms night out events where moms can come with their little ones or without and just kind of decompress and have some social time to socialize with other moms. I've had events such as an outdoor sensory class that gives moms the opportunity to experience a local business and see what that business offers. So the idea is really to connect moms with resources and or local businesses that are here in the community and that are alternatives to the bigger corporate businesses that we tend to only know about. I also do that through what I call mom experiences, which is a new way of doing my events.
mm,
I'm bringing a variety of vendors together to provide an experience for an intimate group of women. That's about 20 women or so. And there's a fitness portion followed by some sort of an activity. It might be, let's say, a reading specialist or a mobile pediatrician that's presenting and giving the moms the opportunity to ask questions. There's a food portion, so a local business will come and share their food for moms to actually experience that. Dessert, drinks, raffle prizes, as well as goodie bags with full-size products. So the idea there is for moms to really experience these products and for the businesses to get exposure and hopefully be able to gain clients that way. Because from personal experience, I'm more likely to become a customer myself if I can try a product and try the entire thing rather than just a sample size.
I love that too because of this like women supporting women. A lot of these businesses that you're bringing in, I know, are also women and mom owned. So there is this. I feel like there's definitely this groundswell of that kind of connection happening among women and moms in various communities. At least what I've been seeing. So that's wonderful, and I see how all of the work that you're doing is tying together so beautifully. I know I've seen some of the stuff that you've written and what you've been talking about related to wellness and self-care, and obviously that's a lot. I mean, that's one of the main focuses of our work at Caring for Mama is really making sure that we're reminding moms that our self-care and our needs really do matter, even though it can feel in the day-to-day just trying to get it all done, that we sort of end up last on the list, right? So I would love to talk to you a little bit about your whether it's your self-care regimen, your tips for self-care. That's something that we've been doing on this series is some really easy to implement, easy to remember tips for moms to remember and remind themselves that their needs matter. So would love to hear your thoughts, your tips.
Yes, so I am a big advocate for self-care. I always make time for myself. I think it's very easy for us to get stuck on this idea that self-care means we need to have an hour set aside, and it means that I need to go to a workout class outside of the home, or I need to go and get this massage at a really nice spa. That's, yes, that would be amazing if we could do that every day, but we can't. We're parents, and parents just don't have the time. Sometimes we don't even have the time to brush our teeth if we just had a baby. So that said, I like to think of self-care as just finding a pocket of time in your day for yourself. If you only have 5 minutes, then maybe that's all you use, right? The 5 minutes to sit and, if you can, meditate or do a face mask, an at-home face mask, or maybe you take an everything shower or a bubble bath. So there's so many ways to implement self-care that can be done at home. Finding the time throughout the day can be really hard because it's really easy for us to say, I don't have the time. But just as you make time to feed your little one, you need to find a little bit of time for yourself to give for yourself. So I know we tend to say moms pour from an empty cup because we have to, but if you're constantly pouring from an empty cup, how great of a job are you doing? Because you're so depleted. So you need to be able to fill that up somehow, and you're going to do that through that self-care. For me, I do it through working out. I find 20 to 30 minutes a day to work out. It's usually during my son's nap. He just started school 2 days a week. So if I can squeeze it in while he's in school, then maybe I do a little bit longer. If I can't that day, because you know what, like today, I'm like, I just want to watch Love is Blind. That's my self-care for the day. So that's what I'm doing. Or what I also like to do in the mornings is we walk to a local park with our dog because she needs to get out and my son also needs to get out. I don't need to entertain him while he's in a stroller. Like, he's stimulated. He's looking at what's going on around him. He's got snacks in front of him. So I put my headphones in, I listen to a podcast or an audio book or maybe just some music. And that's a way to do self-care and to find time for yourself. You get to listen to something that you want to, and you're not being demanded by a toddler.
Right. And how old is your son again?
2.5.
Oh, yes, yes. Yes, those are all really important reminders because they seem so simple. And then in the middle of a crazy day when you're running from this to that, it can feel hard to do. So even just remembering to turn on the music that you want in those small moments can help kind of settle your nervous system and kind of get back to yourself, right? Like get back in your body. I love that. Something else that we've been talking about with guests coming on is this idea of culture of care. That's why I called this series Culture of Care, because I do feel like we've sort of gotten away from that in our society. A lot of people have been talking about where did the community go? We've lost our community. We're creating it, right, within our own circles as we can. But as a society, I feel like we really are missing the boat. And so I kind of pose this question to everyone who comes on. What does that, when you hear culture of care, what does that mean to you? What do you feel like, we could be or should be doing differently to really support moms in a more substantive way?
I think for moms, it's accepting that it's okay to ask for help. I think that's really hard for us. It was so hard for me. I would break down many times where I needed help, and it was hard for me to be able to keep up with everything I had to do. That my husband really encouraged me to reach out to my in-laws and say, just ask them to come over once a week whenever you need to. And I've always been very independent. Like, I was on my own from the time I was 18. I, paid my way through college. I did it all. I worked full time while I went to school full time. So like asking for help was really not in me. And I had to learn to let go of this idea of I'm independent and I can do it all. And I did. I started to ask for help, and now it's super easy. If I honestly say, if it wasn't for my in-laws, like, I don't know how I would do everything I'm doing. I have no idea how I would keep up with my email, with my Instagram posts, with my website. It's impossible to do without that. So I think that's the first thing for us to do is just say, we do need that help and figure out how to get it. It's hard if you don't have family nearby. It's hard if you don't have the finances and you need to be able to pay for somebody. An alternative way, you can try to do maybe a trade with a friend, right? Where maybe they watch your child for a couple hours, you get 2 hours of time to do whatever needs to happen, and you swap. You watch their child for a couple hours in a different day, and then you're not necessarily having to worry so much about the finances.
That's a great idea, the trade. I feel like we think of trades with like, you know, within, like if someone does massage and someone does, they kind of trade services within them. But I feel like mom to mom, creating these swaps of support is a really, I feel like we can create that community within our own group of friends already, and maybe we just don't think to ask. To your point, asking for help. I think our society, whether it's conscious or not, we have this idea somehow that we're supposed to be doing it all, and if we're not doing it all, then we're falling short, right? Or we're always trying to keep up with this perception of what a good mom is supposed to be doing. And so I love the idea of letting go. I've actually been thinking about that a lot, doing that a lot within my work and just in being in life, in life, trying to manage things because it's impossible to do it all at the same time. So I'm constantly practicing what can I let go of today instead of what else can I be doing? What can I let go of today?
Yeah, and prioritizing. Like maybe not all the emails going to be answered. I've also just kind of accepted emails will get done in the evening, maybe if I'm lucky, before my son wakes up. Maybe they don't get done at all today. Like that's the beauty of having your own business. But you do have to prioritize and figure out what is the most essential things, creating like a to-do list and whatnot. I mean, some other ways that I also find support with my son is the Lula Bar here, the local, what I always call a mom cafe. If it wasn't for that, I don't know how I would do some days. I was just there today. I was able to get 2 hours of time to work, and he's in the child care center. So there's definitely ways to try to find those pockets so that you're not trying to do it all during the nap time.
Mm-hmm.
And some things to just accept are that, the laundry isn't going to always get done. I have had my baskets full of laundry all week, but the clothes are clean.
Yeah.
My
and
house,
as long as there's other clothes, right? Like it's okay.
Yeah. And I can dig through that pile because they're clean. I don't have to worry about it. They might be wrinkled, but hey, at least they're clean.
That's okay.
Like my house is a mess, and I've just kind of learned to accept like it's lived in. I have a happy fed child.
Mm-hmm.
I have a roof over my head, and it's okay. Like, yes, it's not spotless the way I had envisioned it to be, but it'll get done when it's done. In 18 years, when my son isn't here, I'm going to be sad and I'm going to miss
that. Yes. I think we can all, any mom tuning in can relate to that. And just, that's one thing to let go of is perfection. Whether it's the house, whether it's yourself, whether it's what you're feeding your children, it's allowing, I love my child is fed and well, and that's the main thing, right? So I would also love to hear for you personally, or through the work that you've been doing, have there been some resources for you that have been particularly helpful, or whether that's online resources or things that you find yourself going back to regularly? Before you answer too, I want to say for those on live, if you have any questions or want to shoot anything through, we have some more time, so please do send your questions through.
So resources, Google is definitely a very strong resource. Honestly, I would say, as stressful as it can be sometimes, Instagram and being able to connect with local resources, whether it's pelvic floor physical therapists. I'm a part of the birth workers community, and there I meet a ton of people that are in this birth worker community that maybe whether it's a midwife, a lactation consultant, a pediatrician, prenatal yoga instructor, you name it. It's always a great way for me to connect with somebody and ask whether it's questions or they might share like an idea for a topic to have on my podcast. That's kind of really tends to be my go-to. And it's so much easier to reach out to people if I'm like, ooh, I have this question. Who would be the person to have the answer? And when you're connecting with your community, you then connect with other people through that, like with local businesses that are creating a product. I really love supporting like local businesses. For example, your box, right? Like how often are you going to find a local product if you just do a Google search? It's really difficult because of the SEO, because of the budgets, because of marketing. You're going to get those big brands that have the money to market. And so the best way to connect with the local products and services is really through networking.
Mm-hmm. No, that's true. I like the reference to the birth workers group. So which specific group is that? Is that called the Birth Workers
Uh,
of San Diego? What's the name of the?
so if you follow Doulas of North County or Empower Physical Therapy, those two ladies are the ones that put it together and they post on both of their Instagram pages. There's an event coming up this month that I'm not able to make it to, but if anyone is in that community, you can sign up through Eventbrite, and it's a great way to meet people that are just coming in. People, it's anyone that's supporting moms, whether it's trying to conceive, pregnancy, postpartum, toddlerhood. It's a great way to really tap into that industry.
Yeah, no, that's good. I was trying to think of the groups for those who I know there's going to be a lot in San Diego who are tuning in, but then others around the country, and trying to think of those national organizations that have, local chapters or kind of the. I'll add it into the caption of the live when I repost it, but just that kind of organization where you can tap into local perinatal professionals, some version of birth workers in your area. So I'll post that in there so people can have it as a reference. But before we wrap up, I'd love for you to talk to you about your upcoming events. I know there's one coming up next month, and also anything else you want to share upcoming, whether it's through the next couple months, the end of the year, or something to look out for this coming year for your podcast or for your crew, your mom crew.
Yeah, so biggest way to support is really through going on and giving my podcast a review, whether that's on Apple and or Spotify or both. And for my mom group, going onto my website at newmomtalk.com, you can go to the events on there, and I post every upcoming event, both for Carlsbad Mom Crew and San Diego Mom Crew. On there, I also have my mom experience, which is coming up November 14th. It's a prenatal postpartum event. So the focus is going to be during that time, but moms are welcome to come even if they are 2 years postpartum. It'll just be, the yoga will be targeted for moms in that prenatal postpartum stage. There's going to be a mobile pediatrician present that will give a presentation, Little Angels Pediatrics, and we'll have Born and Grazed, which is a grazing table. We'll have desserts, drinks, and lots of goodie bags. We'll have raffle prizes, one of which is your box. And yeah, so tons of great stuff. They're intimate, so You don't have to worry about being in a big group and then kind of feeling left out, which I have personally experienced myself. The bigger the group, the harder it is to really connect because everybody already has a friend that they came with or that they met up with. So this really gives moms the opportunity to connect with other moms that are in the same stage or a similar stage as you. You know, when you are pregnant, you're in a very different stage from somebody that has a 6 month old. When you are in the fourth trimester, same thing. It's very different from somebody that's been a mom for 6 months.
That's true. Yeah, I think the intimate setting is so important and not always the case. You know, I think curating these events is really special because then you get the local providers and some of these smaller companies or organizations that you may not find otherwise. So I think it's a really neat way to bridge that gap. So I'm excited that you're doing that, and I'm just so really really thrilled with all the work that you're doing. I think the more of us that are doing this work, and like I said at the beginning, the more that we're having these conversations and building community and reminding moms that we're doing great. Like it's okay. Whatever you're worried about, you're doing great. That's literally what it says when people open up my boxes. It says you're doing a great job because I think we all need to just wake up in the morning and say, you're doing a great job. Whatever it is, you're going to figure it out.
Yeah.
So I want to thank you for all the amazing work you're doing, and doing it as a mom of a young one, and you're making it work. So what would you like your parting words to be for the group? Any other last tips or things to think about as it relates to care and caring for mama?
Make time for yourself and ask for help when you need it. It's going to make you a better mom and a better person to just accept it, right?
Yes. Amen to that. Well, the time always goes so fast. We're wrapping up, and it's so great to see you. I look forward to seeing you soon. And thanks everyone for tuning in, and we will see you next week. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Take care.